But this one's going to be a really interesting one.
Is
He's the
it?
man himself.
Is he interesting though?
What
Of
is
course
this?
he's interesting.
What is this?
This is our setup.
An advert for the United Colours of Benetton.
Basically.
Come in, you're making the colours work.
There's all sorts of flavours there, man.
It makes the
It's
world
like
go
Jerry
round.
Bean ice cream.
They're making it work.
Come and have a seat, Skye. Come on, sit down.
Some Lil Kim. You know what I mean? Some Lil Kim ice cream.
Take a seat.
Hi everyone, I'm Lil Kim. I'm gonna kick your ass. Please don't kick my ass.
What's your Insta?
I want you to love my ass.
Oh dear, what's your Insta?
Yeah, oh dear.
What is it?
Skye Andrews official.
Official.
Yes.
Who told you were official?
Don't start giving me gobbiness, sister. I will take you to dinner and wine and dine you and get you 4 glasses of big wine.
Oh dear.
So the cameras are rolling, so we're starting. So we're going to make a little introduction and have a conversation. You ready to go?
Yeah, no problem.
All right, wicked. So, team, next guest, really, really interesting. Someone very close to my heart, having grown up in Newham. But you've got an individual who has got 3 Commonwealth gold medals, participated in the Olympics with a sport, but then transitioned out of that and now representing some of the biggest names in both TV, media and sport. So really interesting to see how they've made that ascension into different categories. But there's been interesting steps along the way. The gentleman's name is Skye Andrews. And Skye, thank you so much for joining us.
I'm a gentleman.
Yeah.
Yeah, believe that.
Who told you that?
Well, all my mates in Forest Gate. That's where I grew
a
up.
big intro.
So what was it like growing up in Forest Gate?
Do I have to look at you or can I just look at her?
You can look wherever you want.
I look at her, yeah, Tim. Yeah, really, yeah, very
My mum will be
interesting.
very upset though, Skye, if you don't look at me. My mum will be very upset
Okay,
if you don't look at me. But
no problem.
how was it growing up in Forest Gate?
No, it was tough. I mean, we, my parents came in the 60s and, you know, we lived...
Windrush?
Pardon?
Windrush generation?
Yeah, Windrush, well, basically, yeah. And we were so poor, I didn't realize at that time how poor we were, but my mum always made sure that we had clean clothes and food in our bellies, etc., etc. 6 of us in 2 rooms in a council, I don't know what you'd call it, in a road in Forest Gate.
Yeah.
So, you know, I've got memories of, I literally lived with rats, you know, in my bedroom.
Seriously?
I get up in the morning. Well, people didn't know about that until the BBC did a documentary after the Sol Campbell move. And so I told a lot then, but literally I lived with rats. And we
Was
had...
that normal? Were you poorer than your peers?
No, what happened was we lived on the road and the council decided to knock all the houses down. And then they couldn't find a place for us. So they knocked all the houses down and our house was the last house on the building side.
Yeah.
So it got infested with rats. I mean, we had buckets underneath our beds because, you know, literally, I don't think I lived in a house with an indoor toilet till I was well into my late teens.
Wow.
So, you know, we had the bucket under the bed. So, you know, the bedroom always smelt of pee.
Yeah.
And
The
rats
Yes.
and all that. Some people get inspired by adversity. I was inspired to not live that life. I think my brothers and sisters, you know, they more or less accepted it. But I always said to my mum, you know, I'll get you out of this. And
There's something better out there than this.
Were you born? You were born here though.
yeah, I was born here. Yeah. So we moved from council house to council house. We started off in the 2 rooms for 6 of us, and we moved to another council house. We lived in Canning Town.
Yeah.
And then,
Canning Town.
Yeah. And then
Rathbone Market.
Yeah, I used to go there all the time. And then we ended up in Plaistow, Stratford.
Yep.
Where we had our first indoor toilet.
Okay, you get posh now.
Yeah. So we was getting posh. I was going to call the Queen and tell her. And so we had our first indoor toilet, but we didn't have a shower. So literally, I didn't live in a place with a shower till I was 24.
So where was Dad?
My dad was around, but he wasn't around. If you see what I mean.
I do.
I mean, I've got the double-sided sword of the most amazing mum you can imagine, and. He's my dad, but you know he was
running around.
He was terrible.
Yeah,
he was out drinking, gambling. You know, I just remember my mum just not having any money. And one day when I was in my late teens, she told me a story about how he left her in the house with no money and nothing, and I was crying, and she literally gave me hot water to drink. And I think that was a turning point for me. I was inspired to get out anyway, but when she told me about that story. I mean, it's as clear as day, her telling me that. So I saw the good, I saw the bad. I had a great mum. I had a mum that supported me in whatever I wanted to do. I had a dad, but literally wasn't around, didn't take any notice.
What was the vehicle for you to get out of that, to move on to bigger and better things?
I didn't know. All I was inspired to do was to look after my mum. That was my inspiration. And because of what my dad was doing to my mum, I had to get her out, but I didn't know how. So, I respect any parents that allow their kids to develop their dreams and to chase their dreams, because I fell in love with table tennis at the age of 12, 13, and my mum let me play. There was no money. There was no prospect of money, but she allowed me to play it. I'd go away and play, and I'd come back and she'd say to me, "Did you win?"
Where was your first game? Because it's unusual. I don't
It's a
usually
very
hear.
unusual
For a
shoot,
boy
yeah.
at East End, everyone was playing football, innit?
Black guy, parents Windrush, table tennis, and forget Windrush, even now.
Now,
I don't hear anyone, and then even when I turn on the TV, it's usually like Asians that are doing very well at it, like Oriental,
Yes, yeah.
white people. So where did you manage to have your first game?
At table tennis, I was quite lucky in that I was playing cricket, football, athletics at a high level. So, I was playing for the school and the district. And then a guy called Len Hoffman used to come around on his bike, go around to all the East London schools and teach you table tennis. And he taught me. And I liked table tennis because it was indoors. I hate being outside when it's cold.
it would be cold, innit?
Yeah, I was one of those people turning up for football matches in an anorak.
That was Joe.
And me, yeah, don't worry about that.
Like Chris Bonington. Where you going, Skye? I'm going to the North Pole. No, the game's over there. I'm going to the North Pole. I don't know about you guys. But so very quickly, Len Hoffman said to me, "Wow, this kid's got something." He sent me to Fairburn Boys Club. I used to go Fairburn Boys Club in the evening. So table tennis during the day, table tennis in the evening. Absolutely loved it. And my mum was just so, when I look back, she was so supportive. She was earning 15 quid a week, working in a factory. She was doing 40 hours a week and plus more to earn another fiver to give me to buy stuff. So, she inspired me. That adversity, and I knew it was going on, it inspired me. So if you say to me, where did it come from? It came from my mum, seeing how hard she worked and wanting a better life for her and me. Subsequently, my dad and my brother, my younger brother, who's chosen to do everything the wrong way, they both dragged my mum back. So
Is he older than you?
no. My younger brother, just every vice known to man, he's created new vices. And so, he was around my mum, my dad was around my mum. So I tried to get my mum out. So all I could do was buy her a house, make sure she's comfortable. That's all I could do. But
did sport stop you from going down that road because you're in the same vicinity? There was obvious statistics around Newham and people from East London at that particular time, and you could have quite easily been another statistic. Was it sport that stopped you and the investment of Len telling you you're good at something?
I was scared of my mum. I think all of us were scared of my mum. She was loving, but she was tough.
Isn't it?
So I never smoked. I never did drugs. I didn't drink.
Yeah, but your brothers did, and they must have been scared as well. So what was it? Why you?
I don't know. There was something in me. My mum always used to say to me, "But God put you there to help, to look after me." And I'd be like, "Yeah." But like we would live in this council house. I'd share a room with my brother, like 8 by 10, and he would drink, smoke, and it drove me nuts. And that confined. Well, I often speak to Sol Campbell about this. The confined space inspired me to want to get space.
Yeah. Were you academic in school?
I was good, but I was too busy playing table tennis. One of my teachers said to me, "Look, you're very good, but I can't take you seriously unless you stop playing table tennis."
Oh, they told you to stop?
No, they didn't tell me to stop. They said to
focus
more.
They just see it as a hobby.
academia.
It's just a hobby. Did they see it, or did you see it as a career at that point?
No, I saw it as, I'm going to go all the way here. And they just saw it as ping pong. What are you doing? You've got to get an education.
And what was money like in terms of some of the greatest table tennis players? Was it something that you could really live off of and get your family out of East London?
No. I think the most amount of money I ever earned was 15 grand in 1 year.
Of table tennis?
Yeah.
So was it more about the notoriety that it gave you and the platform as opposed to the money?
No, it was just about, I found something that I fell in love with. It's like two people. Sometimes they meet and they fall in love,
It don't
and
make
no one
sense.
can understand it. It's like if you fell in love with me, everybody would understand
That's
it.
what you're hoping, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's what he wants.
You know when you gotta shoot your shot. You know when you gotta shoot your shot. The man said, "You know what? No, there, I'm gonna take it."
Yeah.
But before we get to a good old blind date, the whole point for me is that, but your whole ambition is still to get mum out, and you're playing table tennis.
Yeah.
Isn't that slightly contra because there's no money in it?
Yeah.
You're not going to get sponsored. No one really cares about it because all the
Yeah.
money's going to football and other sports. So
Yeah.
will you do something relatively selfish then for you rather than thinking about your family?
I think everyone is selfish. The lucky people are the people that do something to help others or to do something for the good of others or for the good of yourself. So, I mean, we all do what we want to do because it makes us feel better. Some people feel better walking on top of people, and some people feel better helping people.
But it all comes from a place of
self,
of me.
altruism.
How do I
Yeah,
feel?
making yourself feel good.
How do I feel? But you're absolutely right, Tim. It's a contradiction because in my mind, I'm just thinking if I become good at table tennis, I'm going to earn money. I'm going to be able to buy my mum a house. When really I was playing and playing and playing and not earning any money, and my mum supported me. And then before I went to the Olympics, my mum won the best mum in sport. You know, okay, it's not money, but I think we got like £1,000. But £1,000 to us then was a lot of money.
So how do we go from Commonwealth medals, Olympic appearance, numerous accolades, to transitioning out to becoming an agent? The first black agent actually in the UK.
How do you know you were the first black football agent?
How do you know you're the hottest presenter in this room?
Because you keep on making reference to
That's
it.
fair enough. That's fair enough. I can't argue with that.
we tend not to argue with Lynn. It's a short-lived journey.
There are other black agents. Obviously, now it's more and more prevalent. There were people like Tony Finnegan, who was part of the Right Agency, and those guys
Andy
around
Gray.
the same time. And Andy Gray. And those. So, you know,
it's interesting talking to you guys, but let's just stick to one question at a time. Please, you know, this ain't question time. We'll do it so
Mine was first.
Yeah, his one's first. Yeah. So, whilst I was playing table tennis, I was that guy that was learning about marketing, PR, writing to companies, writing to people for sponsorships, speaking to the press, speaking to the media. And most of the time people didn't care, but I just kept going. I was also that guy that I used to write, and I used to write scripts. We'd go on trips. Whilst all my teammates were doing it, I was writing. So, you know, I wrote scripts for Spitting Image, I wrote scripts for different people, and I used to send them off, mainly just taking the mick out of everything. And I hope no one ever finds some of the scripts I wrote because they were scathing. And so I did things like I wrote to Pringle. I mean, I play table tennis, indoor sport. I wrote to Pringle and I said, if you give me jumpers, I'll be able to wear them all over the world. I'll put the numbers of how many people play table tennis, blah, blah, and Pringle sponsored me.
Look at that.
So you created your own sort of sponsorship, which was quite early idea at that time, because now sponsorship is heavy. People are earning more off their sponsorship deals than they are off the sport.
No, but I learned how the media worked, right? So in the press, there's a certain way in which journalists write stories. There's a school of thought, but they don't care whether it's true or false, as long as it's a good story. So I remember I signed a sponsorship deal with a company called Stiga, and it was a small amount of money, but all the bonuses in it added up to about £1 million, right? So I spoke to this paper and they asked me about it, and I said, yeah, it's worth £1 million. Next thing, it's in the papers, table tennis player signs contract worth £1 million. Well, everyone went crazy. My own teammates would come up to me and go, what's this nonsense in the league saying that you're going to earn £1 million? I says, it's not saying he's going to earn it, but he says it's worth up to £1 million. So the psyche of a lot of people around me, they didn't get the way the press were. Everyone says, let's get more press. But you've got to understand what they want and give them what they want to get the press. The story was completely true. And to this day, you see a story about a footballer, they'll say the deal is worth because they're trying to get the numbers bigger to make it more of a story.
X amount over 5 years. And
No, they want to make the story interesting. So I learned how to manage myself. I learned how to speak to journalists. I learned how to get sponsorship. I learned that brand is what the public see, and that's what they believe. You can be one person in private and another person to the public, but what matters is the perception of the public. And to this day, a lot of people still don't understand that you can be whoever you want to be, but if your brand isn't good, then you can't attract sponsorship.
No.
And that's what people will believe. I mean, I can give you examples, but I'm one of players that literally their brand has been so bad, but as individuals, they're not bad people, but they've just allowed their brand to not have any control from them.
Yeah.
So is that like more important now than even the ability as a footballer, or not more important, but it's almost neck on neck in terms of being able to generate money, the image of a footballer versus how well they can play on the pitch?
Yeah, I mean, some players would say, I don't care about all of that. I just want to earn money. But the truth is that if you have got a good brand, you will earn more money.
But then do you think that now, because of that and the media being able to write up stories, that a lot of the things that they're doing now is maybe not as genuine? So like with Rashford, it's a great, rhetoric that he's going with, feeding the children, everyone deserves a meal, etc. But then at what point does it become, okay, this is commercialized now? And do you think that footballers should be involving themselves in those sorts of things, or are they being used by something in the background?
I mean, let's be honest, right? Anything anyone does can be entwined into commercialism.
Yep.
When Jamie Oliver did his school dinners with Sainsbury's, boom.
Yeah.
It helps him commercially.
Turkey Twizzlers, that's right, yeah.
So the thing about players, and the thing about especially black players, is that you are relevant for a period of time. So you have to take responsibility for when you are relevant, who are the people you got around you? The people around you need to understand where you've come from, and they need to understand where you're going. If you choose to have people around you that you wouldn't let them help you cross the road, right? You got them type of people around you. How can you expect to then say, why aren't there no black chairman? Why aren't there this? These footballers, yeah, there's 33% of the top players are black. But when you're relevant, you've got to use your relevancy. There's no way any player should have too much bad press. Because when you're relevant, you can influence the press because they will talk to you because you're relevant. And when you talk to the press, you then tell them your story. You tell them who you are.
Going back to your point there, you're talking about the demographic of black players in the game. And when you look at society as a whole in the UK, and the percentage of non-whites is so minimal, versus in football, it's a much higher percentage. But then those that take up coaching positions or leadership positions within the club are so few. Have you got a view on that?
Yeah, I've got a view on it. Have you got enough film in that camera?
Yeah. I think we're all right for film camera.
Look,
but why don't?
Is any of it our responsibility within the community as to why we're not managers and coaches?
Skye did it. So you took yourself from where you started and you said, do you know what? I want to be over there, and you made a pathway. Is it incumbent on the FA to drag people up, or is it incumbent on the individuals to push themselves forward?
Accountability.
I'm much more in the latter category, because if I'm waiting for this manna from heaven to save me, I don't think that's going to work. And actually, if you believe you've got the competence and you've got the skill, why shouldn't you be a manager?
Skye, I want to hear what you got to say. We've had enough of Tim.
Yeah, we all have. I love this guy. I love his story. Working on the trains, people try and make out that it was so tough for Tim. Yeah, he was on the underground and he was kidnapped. And then they took him in this room. And Tim said, "Where's your ticket?" And he went, "I ain't got one, blood. What are you going to do about it?" And Tim said, "You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to win The Apprentice."
No, you forgot the bit. I saved the baby in the middle of that. But I learned from you. The reality is that you tell the story that you want to be told. And the fact is, they wanted to put me in a box which said, poor black guy, single parent black guy, does well against all adversity. They told that story. That's the story they wanted to tell. I was like, okay, carry on telling it. What's wrong with that?
But
I'm with you.
To, in terms of...
No more questions. Let me answer the last 27. Jesus, he's free. Look at the Jonathan Ross.
You got to keep up then. You got to keep up.
Yeah. So
Dimbleby.
Nice guy.
Paxman.
Pac-Man. I like it.
Oh my God.
So, life is hard.
Yep.
And it's hard for everyone. people keep talking about, you can make an excuse, go, I'm black, I'm short, I'm tall, I'm a woman. The thing is that life is hard. And you've got to choose whether or not you want to find that one person that got something for nothing, because there's always someone that's deemed to have got something for nothing. Or you look at someone that has fought their way through, yeah? So life is tough. So it's not about, it's because of this. You've got to find a way. I mean, someone said to me the other day, do you know what? The middle-aged white man has got no one championing him, no one blowing their trumpet. You know, everything now is about inclusion and about, you know, ethnic diversity and inclusion. And I thought, wow, that's a really interesting thing to say.
Do you agree? You said interesting. Do you agree, though?
My thoughts are, right, that we need to have diversity and inclusion for us to have a balanced, not a balanced decision-making in society. And this thing about the middle-aged white man, no, he said it to me, and I just thought, wow, you know, but okay, but it just isn't their time. This is the time where people are saying we need balance, we need diversity. So the focus is on that. The focus is on, if we have more people of color in the boardrooms of decision making, more women, etc., etc. Sometimes when I do talks, people talk to me a lot about racism, and I say to them, what about feminism? And it's almost like people don't want to admit that there's feminism, but they want to talk about racism because it's sexy. But they don't want to talk about feminism. Yeah. So if you put 10 decision makers in a room, more people will go towards, I'm championing diversity and inclusion, rather than inequality with men and women.
Disagree 100%, and I tell you why.
It's becoming huge feminism.
There's been a huge drive over the last 5 years around getting more women into boardrooms, the 30% club,
the pay gap,
gender pay gap. So actually, when you look at diversity leaders in organisations, the vast majority will be white women, because the whole positioning has been, we need to get more conversations in boardrooms around women. I think what has now happened, whether you call it post-Floyd or whatever not, is that people have looked and said, actually, if we want real inclusion, we have to look at all types of diversity and move from that to
I think it's
the ones at the bottom, the ones at the bottom of the ladder are actually black women when you look at the discrimination within organisations. So I challenge that ever so slightly, in that I think people are much more comfortable talking about gender and get more uncomfortable about talking about race, because the race is underpinned by a reliance of that you are less than me. Whereas if I can look at, everybody's got a mother, everyone can connect with a woman in some way, shape or form. Not everybody will connect with a different ethnic minority group.
13 years ago, I started one of the biggest female empowerment platforms, Inspirational Water Women.
Okay.
And I decided that, right, we're going to find women who get no acknowledgement for what they do and acknowledge them. So,
and people didn't support you in that?
Well, it's funny, you know, in some respects we did get support, because the first event we did, Dame Helen Mirren, Dame Kelly Holmes, they came, they collected the awards, blah, blah. But in terms of me going to people and saying, right, I want you to support me with female diversity and inclusion, I just didn't get that much support. So I'm speaking from experience. So if I go to people and say diversity and inclusion, there's a lot of people that want to get on that bandwagon.
Going back to our original point about why does...
2 hours ago.
Yeah, apology.
Don't apologise.
You talk to me, nice guy.
I asked you.
My brother and sister,
they're
just
not
too
ready.
much.
They're not
talk
ready.
to me.
So the representation in football in particular is, you know, in male football, the number of black footballers is not represented at manager or coach or indeed in the boardroom. Why is that in particular?
Okay. Well, point one, people that are in positions of power, people that walk in the echelons of power, they don't let people in, right? So don't expect anyone to give you a position of power, and that's to anybody. Right? So we start from that point. Second point, for a person to get into that echelons of power, don't wait for anybody to give it to you. You've got to find a way. And in fact, in some quarters, there is a positive initiative about inclusion. So, okay, you use what you've got to get to where you need to get to. And it's up to you who you surround yourself with. You can't be standing on the street corner saying, how comes I'm not Prime Minister, right? And then people have got that mentality that they surround themselves. If you want to find excuses, you turn around to you and there's an excuse standing there. If you want to look for a way to get through, you got to get your backpack and you got to go into the forest. You got to look for it.
So you don't think that black footballers do enough to then excel to the next level?
What needs to happen is that black footballers need to understand that the people around them represent them outside of the bubble. Football's a bubble, yeah? And there's a school of thought amongst some corridors is that footballers earn a lot of money and so what? You know, there are people representing black footballers and go, do you know what, you earn a lot of money and so what? They're not thinking about where they come from, where they're going to. For there to be an influential person of colour in football, that person needs to have people around him or her managing the situation and walking in those corridors of power themselves, right? So your representative has to be in the political
sphere.
People that don't do politics don't do life. People go, I'm not interested in politics. How can you not be interested in politics? Politics is controlling your life or influencing your life.
What's your politics?
Pardon?
What's your politics? Which way do you lean?
I'm Labour.
Okay.
I'm Labour because I can't get it out of my system.
Whoa, Lynn don't like you already.
I can't get it out of my system.
I wouldn't say that.
So
I just don't like Labour.
So I wrote a book called In Your World, and it's about the importance of your team.
Yeah.
So what has to happen is you have to take responsibility for your team because you're only as good as your environment and you're only as strong as your greenhouse. Your greenhouse is where you grow. If you've got people around you that are not helping you to grow, what are you doing? And then you're relevant, you're a superstar footballer, earning lots of money, great. You stop playing, you fall off a cliff. Why? Because the people around you haven't made you grow. It might be politics, it might be business. I mean, in America, all the top sports people are on boards of companies, they own companies, they're moving and shaking.
They integrate into different areas.
The sports men and women are
Just
a commodity for the moment that they're popular.
A bit of a contradiction though, because
what is?
You saying that wherever you look left and right, there's an excuse.
No, I said if you look for an excuse,
there will be one.
Yeah.
And no one's just gonna the upper echelons in society or in power are not just gonna open the door and say, "Come on, then we're gonna include you in this."
They'll do it as a token gesture.
Yeah, but generally speaking, they're not receptive.
Yeah.
So, and I feel like in terms of not to get into it too much, but with Labour, that's their rhetoric, that people should be given things as opposed to ambitious fighting through, you know, having that slightly capitalist mindset, conservatism, ownership, business ownership, property ownership. So how is that because of when you were young and Labour is something that you're holding on to?
Yeah, it's you know, I still consider myself working class.
But shouldn't we progress mentally?
Yeah, the thing is that isn't it right that conservatism is middle right and Labour's middle left? You know, they're both just coming to the centre.
But how do you, now you have this aspiration for more space, don't you believe that you are no longer working class? Or are you seeing working class as a mentality as opposed to the accumulated wealth and success that you have? Because the reality is that you climb a ladder. Social mobility happens the more successful one. You've been very successful in terms of what you've done. So how do you still see yourself as working class?
It's instilled in me. I mean, I still go.
That's not how you
this
define
is what
it,
holds us back, though.
Yeah.
That we will do really well
back.
in terms of. It's about. This is what I believe in terms of perception. Right? There's many people that came over from various different countries. Initially started off from a deprived background. Not the best start in life, then managed to cut through and do massively well. So that would be the finances have changed, the lifestyle's changed, the things that you're interested in changed, your network's changed. It doesn't mean you forget, it doesn't mean that you shy on your past, but by default of proximity and success,
you're no longer working
it changes. Class. So my thing is about perception. You said, you have to look at the rudiments of media and how they run a story and everything. So if we continue, even though we are successful, to continue to say we're working class or hold on this nostalgic sort of we're working class, we're never going to build, the black community is never going to build this proud middle class, which is then going to create a new perception of we are success and we belong, like the bourgeoisie did from the working class to want to emulate the upper class.
I think it's like
why can't we do that?
It's a defense tactic. It's like
it's embarrassment.
Maybe it is embarrassment.
Like, I'm arrogant. Why are you saying you're middle class now?
Behave yourself. Because I don't tell everyone I've made a lot of money because I'm still working class.
We should be proud. Now I'm middle class. Yes.
So I'll qualify it. After listening to Kid Creole and the Coconut, right? But I'll qualify it. The thing is that I am maybe middle class, as some people will say.
There you go.
Right? Some people will say, but there are aspects of my life that I'm proud of. And what I'm proud of is that my mum used to take me to the market, Rathbone Market.
Yep.
Right? My mum used to say, "Oh, that's good value." I'll never lose that. That aspect of me. People say
financial prudence is not middle class.
Exactly.
I've got friends that have been aspirational, and now they say, "I'm not doing this, I'm not doing that."
Yeah, but that's what we've
middle class people can be very
exactly what we've
financially
agreed is that
savvy.
money or success amplifies the personality traits that were already in you. So if you are going to be a bit of an idiot, you'll be more of an idiot. If you are going to be a good person, you'll probably come and be a philanthropist if you have more access to more wealth. That is not about your social class. Your social class is quite easy to define.
Yes.
If you can go on 2 or 3 holidays a year, you're not working class. Right. It doesn't make...
Is that right?
It's interesting because I'm actually with you in that I would struggle to see myself as anything other than working class.
But you're not working class.
No, I know. But no,
as it's defined...
as it's defined, you're right.
How many trainers you got?
A lot.
A lot.
More than I can count.
There ain't no working class man I know from Canning Town with more than 10 trainers.
It's a feeling. It's a where you've come from and it's how you are.
No, you're holding on to the past.
Maybe I am and maybe you are. I don't know. I'm not speaking for you. But
I'll tell you something, at the end of the day, is that, I've created a new environment, But in my heart, I was asked to go and judge a kids' talent contest at Park Resorts up in Scarborough somewhere.
Yeah.
It's Pontins, Butlers, and I went up there and I was looking around. I was going, "These are my people," and that's how I feel. I will never feel that the people in which I've aspired to are my people, and some people do that. Whereas I can understand it, but I can mix in circles, and at the end of the day, the richest people in the world are the people that can communicate at all levels. Communicate with the guy you meet in the street, and communicate with the queen.
Is there a little bit
communication?
Of
never lose your communication.
In there?
Yes.
What's that?
Is there a little bit of imposter syndrome in there? In that you're saying that you go to this, this holiday camp and you go, "These are my people."
Yeah.
And when you're in the boardroom, as much as you're comfortable in your own skin and you're happy to have these discussions, you don't truly belong.
No, I think that I've learned how to develop different traits, and I think that traits of you which are conflicting or contrasting traits, you almost need it. So you need to be strong. You need to be sensitive. Nobody wants to be someone that's strong that's got no sensitivity, no empathy. So you can be tough and hard, but you can also be understanding. So I like to think that I'm a sensitive person. But I draw on traits on my other trait. And when it comes to protecting my clients, I'm fierce.
Who are some of these clients that you've been ultra protective of? Name some of the people that you've worked with.
I'm so confidential with the clients. And I think the clients are so used to me protecting them and not really talking their business. So I'm ultra protective of
so who can you mention that's been out in the public?
How did you meet Sol Campbell?
Well, I mean, Sol Campbell was looking for someone to look after him, and me and him met at Liddershaw, and we were friends, and a group of us used to go out at weekends and blah, 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 and then he saw in me that I could be his voice. We both came from poverty, and together we created something huge. And what that is him doing what he needs to do on the pitch, and me doing what I need to do off the pitch and protecting him. His image was untouchable. People couldn't mess about with him.
They tried to come for him as well, didn't they?
If you think someone could phone me up and say to me, "We're going to write a story about Sol Campbell," I'd be like, yeah, you're going to write a story about Sol Campbell. You better get it right. And then once people realised that I wasn't joking and that I was serious,
can't mess with you.
they couldn't mess with him. Right? So I was at an event one time, and an agent, a white guy, came up to me and he said to me, your problem is you spend too much time protecting your clients. You're never going to make money. I went home and I thought, bloody hell, that guy literally is telling me how it is. So if I side with my clients, then the people in the echelons of power are not going to look after me. So then I literally was on an island. I was in a boat paddling in the sea and saying, you're not going to do that to my client.
How did you gain the advantage from that? Because I personally, I think that's a fantastic trait to have, like your integrity and you're always looking out for the person that
doesn't
you're
make you any
representing.
money though.
Yeah,
Well,
so how did you position it in the end to get the success that you've had?
When I first came in, I said to, because he was my first client, I said to him, the one thing you've got to do is, whatever you do, honour it. Honour your contract. And here's the irony. If a footballer honours his contract and he's worth 30 million, the whole world is coming down, you know? People are starting to point fingers at you and try and discredit you. But if they don't want you and your contract finishes and you've got kids in private school and you desperately need to stay in the club, they'll just let you go. So I said to him, you honour your contract. It just so happened that his integrity was, number one, I'm honouring my contract. If someone brings me something better, great. But the essence of what he did was, I want to be as good as I can possibly be. So it was all about football. So he would look at me and say to me, it's all about football. Spurs fans and everyone's getting upset because he's not signing a contract. But we was having discussions in the boardroom that people don't know about, but it was always about football. Not at one moment did I say to anybody, if you give us this much money, we'll sell our integrity down the line. This is why no one can say anything to us. Because it was, okay, people might not agree with where we went, but it was all about the integrity. So, and I say it to all of them, but not everyone's as strong as Sol Campbell. So my first client was Sol Campbell. I said to him, focus, honour your contract, conduct yourself in the right way, and no one can say anything about you. But not everyone's like him. So other clients I've had have cracked under the pressure. But I've said to them, this is for you and your life, and this is what's right for you.
They don't get it.
But then other people will get into them.
They feel they'll miss like an opportunity.
No, normally it's about money.
As in the opportunity of getting that money. If they see the money, they think we have to do it now. We have to do it now.
Yeah, and this is the weird thing about me and him that we had in similar, is that nobody could buy me. And so many people would say to me, do you know what? Everyone's got their price. I'd be like,
okay.
Well, you know, no one's got their price when it comes to, I'm the guardian of someone's life, someone's career. I'm not going to sleep if I don't guide that person in the right way. And an example of that is, he's coming towards the end of his contract in January. We could talk to anybody we wanted to. I said to him, no, we're not talking to nobody until we get it sorted out with Spurs. We talked and talked and talked and talked and talked. Then when it was legally right for us to talk to people, we spoke to people. We got offered, the money we got offered by Barcelona, the money I got offered by Barcelona
to do
it, to take him to Barcelona, people would never see that money again. I knew that I might not see that money again. But I knew it wasn't the right thing for me to convince him to do something that I knew wasn't right for him.
What would make it not right though? You know, a good, credible team.
No. But the thing is that if you're a carpenter or you're a plumber or you're a footballer, the thing is that you need to find an environment what's best for you. He was a great centre back.
Yeah,
he needed to go to somewhere where they needed a player like him, and that he was going to win things. What happens? He went to Arsenal next year. They won the double.
Yeah, so
I got 1/4 of commission of what I could have got. But he was holding up trophies,
which is what he wanted.
Yeah. So have you missed out on a lot of money?
Millions.
And do you ever regret any of that?
Millions. Not just with him, with numerous clients. I've missed out on millions because there are people that say things, but they don't really mean it. They just say it because they want their own way.
Yeah.
So one of the things someone said to me once, and he'll be watching this and he'll know it's him. He said to me, oh, you tell your players to honor their contract because you're going to earn more money. I'm like, okay, right. So a player signs a 5-year contract. I'm going to say to that player, for 5 years, don't sign another contract because I might get money at the end of the 5 years. That's how ridiculous some people. People that make money in football, you do contracts all the time.
Yeah.
You do a contract every year.
Keep swapping.
You get $1 million here, $2 million there, you keep going. You don't run the risk of a player getting injured, falling out of the game, leaving you as a client.
Manager, yeah.
All of these things. But for me, the bigger picture is you have to win your battles. So if I can help them to, in the down times, in the times when they're weak, to say, I'm going to win my battles, it's going to help you in life. You don't give up. Right, so if you're in a team and you're not playing and you're on the bench, how do I get in the team? Don't make excuses. How can I get in the team? So I help the players win their battles. But unfortunately, over the years, some players are like, no, do you know what? I want an out.
I want some more.
I don't. And
going back to the point that we made earlier on about creating a pathway for potentially for black players to step into coaching roles and then leadership roles, what are you doing for the players that you represent to prepare them for life after football?
I talk to them a lot, yeah? And a lot of it is good and bad because I'm telling them things that no one else is going to tell them, yeah? So I'm saying to them, everything's about timing. Don't let money be your God. If you chase money, money puts on a pair of Nike trainers and starts running. Don't sell your integrity for money. And in fact, if you're that person that is not controlled by money, you'll make more money.
Yeah.
Right? If someone offers you a contract and you jump, then they know they got you.
It's easy.
They know they got you. But if you're someone that's, you've got integrity and you're like, it has to be right, then the people that control everyone by money, when they hear it has to be right, they're like, they don't know what to do. They start breakdancing.
Yeah.
Right? So people get lazy when they have power, influence, money. They get lazy. They stop trying to understand people. They stop looking at timing. They stop looking at things that make people tick. They just think, I've got power, I've got money, I can buy you. Same thing in relationships. There's always someone in a relationship that gets lazy, and that's because they think, I'm better looking than you, I've got more money than you, I've got more power than you. So I've got influence over you, so I don't need to communicate on a level. The only true relationship you'll ever have is if someone lives everything about them outside and talks to you on a level. And how many relationships can you have like that? I preach them about Dr. Brad Banterford talks about radical honesty. How many people can you be honest about? A lot of players, they've got fears and all this. Sometimes they don't tell anybody.
Upon first meeting you, you're jovial, you're funny, you're larger than life, but
Funny-ish.
Yeah?
But
Funny-ish.
He's even taken off his woolly hat for me.
Taking notes. But when we talk about layers, for me, you seem like someone that you're a deep thinker. You're an educated man, whether self-educated or not. You read an awful lot. You've been quoting various people about various topics, but at your core, you're someone that really cares, particularly about your clients.
Yeah, it's cost me millions, caring. I've things I can't even talk about. I mean, I was ripped off for 1.5 million on one deal with someone that was my family, literally.
Wow.
And that inspired me to start the Inspiration Awards for Women. It's funny how you have a situation where you just think, wow, people really don't get the importance of relationships. When you're young, you have the future and you look into the future, and as you get older, relationships become more and more important. Who have you got a relationship as you get well? And then you're 80 years old and you're in your rocking chair, someone's rocking you. Who's holding your hand? You need to have relationships with people over a period of time, and people just underestimate it. So in my line of business now, where we look after actors, singers, footballers, TV presenters, we've got all of these people. Some of them don't make us any money, but maybe will do, who knows. But the process of a relationship and helping someone fulfill their potential is what I live for, is why I get up in the morning. I don't know why, but that's what I like to do. So people think about a lot of things, but the one thing you should think about is, how do I fulfill my potential? If you do everything right, the cards will fall. But some people are too scared. They don't want the cards to fall. they'll push the self-destruct button. They'll make excuses. They'll do this, they'll do that. But fulfilling your potential.
It's hard for a lot of these people now. I think, particularly looking at some of the kids that are out there, they're fascinated with success. They're fascinated with this Instagram.
Quick
I want to get stuff quickly. I want to have money. All the materialistic stuff. But putting in the hard work endeavour, failing, facing rejection, not a lot of them want to do that. Don't you see that?
But, no, because I think, they want instant success. But then if they didn't have that hunger as well, like since you started as an agent, there's a lot of young black agents and they're getting younger. I've got a couple of friends that are agents and, barely out of their 20s and they've got big players. So this same hunger for success, whether it's chasing a bit of money, I know that shouldn't be the be end and end all.
But it might be the catalyst.
It may be something for them a driving force.
No, but
do you think it's changed?
What's disappointing for me is, obviously, there's a lot of young agents around, and whether they're black or white, I always try and advise them. Yeah. What's disappointing for me is the lack of understanding that you need to know your stuff. Blagging. So everyone thinks they can blag.
Yeah. This is
the
era of blag.
You get these young guys blagging.
Fake it till you make it.
I've got clients where they'll say to me, "Oh, this agent called me up." I said, "What's his name?" It'll go blah blah blah, and then I'll phone the agent and say, "Skye Andrews," and he'll be like, "What are you calling me for, man? What are you calling me for?" I'll be like, "Listen, I'm going to talk to you, yeah?" I said, "Don't burn bridges." I said, "Learn the business. I don't have to do things your way. I'm going to do things my way." I said, "What's your way? What's your way then?" My way is, but I'm saying, wow, how far can you go with that attitude? As you go up the echelons, you have to be able to communicate, and you have to know your stuff. If you don't know your stuff, you will always fall flat on your face.
So right now, in the climate we're in, what would you say is the best way to try and become a manager or a coach? What would be the recipe to make those upper echelons bust open the door? Force? How do you force the door?
No, I'm glad you changed it then, because you was bussing it 1 minute, right? And then everyone's like, Jesus Christ,
all the way real.
Has she got a gun with her or a knife?
No. But the way that we would talk in our house, we should be able to talk in any situation. And
I think I'll switch it up. Do you not think?
Pardon?
You walked into that one.
I haven't been in East London for about 20 years.
You walked into that one. He's not working class anymore, so change the game.
Oh, sorry, sorry.
Yeah. So I'm big on this pie chart theory. Yeah? And my pie chart theory is people that have been successful, right? There's all slices of the pie chart. That's all little things that gives you marginal gains or marginal losses. If you've got too many marginal losses, you're causing yourself a problem. So if you're a young black player and you want to be a coach, So in that pie chart, it's how are you coming across? That affects people. How do you interview? Who do you know in the game? Which coaches are going to give you a CV? And then you're going around that pie chart. And then you got the pie chart and you go, okay then, how many of them slices do you tick?
To warrant you becoming a manager.
It gives you more of a chance, right? So there are people that it's like cross. Why aren't I a manager?
So a lot of it is our fault then?
No, a lot of it is the advice that people get, right? The people around them, responsibility for who's around you. And then if you've got the right people around you, they will tell you.
Fix up.
Every time you play for a manager, you play for a coach, that person's on your side, that's going to help you become a manager.
Yeah.
The way you speak on TV will help you become a manager. Because chairmen are looking and saying, oh, that guy sounds good. If Rio Ferdinand said, tomorrow I want to be a manager, this guy's communicating so well on TV, but he knows his stuff. That people aren't going to go, oh, no, he's mixed race. We're not going to give him a job. So in any walk of life, there are tick boxes in that pie chart. And what you got to do is to tick as many of those little slices as possible to give yourself a chance.
And not enough are ticking those boxes you're saying.
Can you actually just put the banana skin there so I can just slip do a couple of 12s, right, and then come out and just go.
That's what you're saying.
go.
I'm saying, how do we get into that door? And you said there's a pie chart, beautifully, put, and you need to tick off. And when you actually look at the pie chart, people are not ticking off the boxes. So
She's
you're
not
saying
wrong,
that
though.
there's
She's not
not
wrong.
enough people, black players who
Are
after
ticking the
their
box.
career that are not ticking the boxes. That's what you're essentially saying.
During their career.
Or even after,
during.
during.
So, I mean, I'm known for being brutal with people, and like, I'll have a laugh and a joke, but I'll be brutal. When it comes to your life, I ain't making no jokes about it. So if you want to know what you need to do, I'll tell you. But you might want to hear it, you might not want to hear it. The thing is that what's never going to change in life is somebody recommending you. You knowing someone. So when people criticize football clubs for bringing in certain people, when you see a coach bringing in someone they know,
that's life. That's how the
but
world
they could
works.
be held back. We're saying that there's still obviously institutional racism. There could be times when people are ticking those boxes, but the people at the top are, on purpose holding people back or not giving them that chance.
I suppose
who are they holding back?
Yeah, but I don't
what type of characters are they holding back?
Well,
so we go back to the pie. They're not ticking that pie then.
I mean, Mick McCarthy had Keith Connor with him. The whole time he was manager of Wolves. So it's literally about what's not going to change. Some people think they can change it. Some players think they know more than the coach. So this is where I get my boxing gloves on, is when a player thinks he knows more than the coach. But
there has to be something wrong with this. We can't put it all on the players.
No.
Okay.
No. We're not putting it on the players. The fact is that the system is not going to give you anything.
You have to go and take it. Yeah.
Right? It's not going to give you anything. And then when you are relevant, what's happening is that people are controlling the situation. So a player may have a representative who is controlling what he sees, what he hears, and all that. And so in the end, they're doing that because they want to protect their money. If you always follow the money, if you follow the money, you normally find out what's going on. So then an agency's got a top player, they're controlling that situation. They've probably got a runner around that person, making sure that not talking to them, blah, blah, blah. And then they squeeze every last bit of juice they can financially. And then when that player is done,
let them go.
Discarded.
Right? And then he's like, I want to be a coach, I want to be a manager. Look, some big name players have come to see me after their career is done and sat in my office and told me stories, which I can't believe. But then I look at them and I say, it was your responsibility to choose who you have around you. And they're like, yeah, but when you're playing and you're earning money, you're not thinking about anything else. This is why you need people around you that are going to be fierce off the pitch, because you never know when it's going to be over. And it's a scary sight when it's over. 1 minute you're relevant, you're earning money, you're adulated. Next thing, you fall off the cliff, people don't care anymore.
Tomorrow's chip paper.
People don't care. So you need people around you when you're relevant to start making paths for you. Look at you, understand you first. What type of character are you? Are you someone that's going to do TV, media? But the one thing that should be happening is that when you're relevant and you're such a big star, you should be on company boards. You should be non-executive director. You should buy a ticket for the lottery, have 2% in this company, have 5% in this company. This is what a lot of the Americans do.
Yeah.
How can you earn 20 million?
We are seeing more of this now in the media in particular. So a friend of mine, Warren Houghton, I don't know if you're familiar with him.
I'm familiar with Warren.
Yeah. So he's obviously got this consultancy where he's pushing forward a number of athletes and ex-athletes to be more prominent on TV at the moment. So there are steps in the right direction, and hopefully that continues. Yeah.
So I get to say my bit because people are like, oh, right, let's get him talking. But I'm not going to get assistance. And I know that people aren't going to want to put me in a position of power because I will speak the truth. And if I speak the truth, a lot of people might not want to hear it. But I haven't got a relationship with the higher echelons that's bad. Trust me, I can communicate with anyone. I can communicate with people and I've got good relationships with them. But they hear the truth from me and they know it can't be changed. So for instance, I had a phone call, bam, from a prominent black female that said to me, I saw one of your videos, you know, there's not enough people in it that look like me. So I said, okay, so if we had to do a video that looked like everybody, then the film would last longer than the trilogy of The Lord of the Rings. So yeah, I don't care about that. All I care about is people look like me. I said, okay then, do you care about disability? No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about that. And I went for a few other minority areas. The truth is, is that if you're from a minority and you don't care about other minorities, how the hell do you expect them to care about us? So in the end of the conversation, she was like, oh, right. Because if all of the minorities supported each other, then all of a sudden we'd be
fight the same battle.
we become a majority, right?
Yeah.
But if we're going to segregate ourselves and go, that video hasn't got a mixed race, Asian, English with a bit of Bajan and West African in it, it's not about that.
He was calling me out.
I was going to say, see
I
my
was like,
genealogy.
Asian.
No, I was calling you out. Yeah. So I'm about diversity and inclusion, but also let's not just get cornered into, right, it's all about us.
Yeah.
It's all about me. It's not, it's about minority, diversity and inclusion is about minority groups.
It's been a pleasure. As ever, it's always interesting to talk to you. And although you've dissed us all the way through the thing, we've loved every minute of it. So thank you very much and good luck and continued success with helping the people see that radical truth that they need to hear sometimes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Love you, brother.
I don't give up.
Love you. Love you. Love you.